Hi everyone! Today I'm making the perfect ciambelle bread from scratch. And no, I'm not Italian, but with a few tips, anyone can make this at home. We made this for Christmas and it turned out so good, so let me show you how I did it. So I made a big batch of this, but because the KitchenAid stand mixer can only take half a batch at a time, I'm doing a half a batch. So what I did was, into the stand mixer at one time, I added 5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of salt, and I had previously mixed in 1 cup of water with 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry yeast and then 1 tablespoon of sugar. But for this batch, I had used half of that. I also added 2 cups of water. And then you see me adding just 1 tablespoon of water because it looked a little bit dry. I let that go on for about, I would say 4 to 5 minutes, maybe even less, maybe 3 to 4 minutes in the KitchenAid until the dough was pliable. Then I went in with 2 tablespoons of fennel seeds. This is what gives the ciambelle that traditional flavor. I mixed it in for another 2 minutes, not on speed 2, but just on the stir feature, not the mix feature, which is the slowest one. And then I put everything into a oiled bowl and just sort of mixed it in with my hand just a little bit more. And remember, I had done 2 batches, so what I was doing here was just sort of mixing the 2 batches together. What I did then was I covered it up with plastic wrap and then I put it into the fridge overnight. And I did this because I learned this from my pizza video, which I will link down below, because for that one I left it on the counter and it got dry. This one was perfect. When I took it out of the fridge in the morning, it was perfect. It was not dry and it had risen to twice its size. So then I had my daughter help me mold the ciambelle and cut it up and shape it into the little bagel shapes. So we had floured the surface a little bit and then put a little bit more flour on top of the ciambelle bread, sort of rolled it with our hands into a dough-like, bread-like dough. You see my daughter doing it. She said it felt like Play-Doh. She just loves helping me in the kitchen and playing with dough because it's fun for her, right? She's 6, so it's just like fun and games for her. And I enjoy it because I think it teaches her something, so maybe one day she's gonna do this as well. So what I did next was I started cutting small pieces off the end of the little dough bun so that they were approximately 1 inch wide and then maybe like 5 to 6 inches long. We stretched that out and we flattened it down and then we started shaping the ciambelles. So what we did was we started folding from one side of the dough piece up towards the top of the dough piece and then sticking it down and then taking the next little piece at the bottom and then also folding it upwards and sticking it to the top, sort of folding every section over as we went ahead so that it would overlap with each other. I hope that makes sense the way I'm describing it. And then we would take the piece of dough and roll it up like it's a rope and then tie the 2 ends together and stick them together really well. And it's very important that you stick it together very well for the next step of the ciambelle making. And so this is what the little ciambelles look like before the next step, which is to boil them. So you just take water, you boil it, and then you reduce the heat to medium boil so that it's just sort of on a rolling boil. And I would put in 4 to 5 at a time. And you go for about 30 seconds. So I actually set a timer for 30 seconds, but really you can look at it when they rise to the top. And once they rise to the top, you just take a slotted spoon, the kind you would use for pasta, and then you would take them out and on a dry, clean towel, which I put over a baking sheet, I just took those out and put them onto the dry towel so that they would just drain from the water a little bit. So I did this in batches of 4 to 5 until all of the ciambelles were done. Then the next step is baking the ciambelle bread. So I just took some pizza pans, I oiled them up with olive oil, and I just took the ciambellas one at a time and placed them on the pizza pan. And I didn't actually brush them with anything. I think you can brush them with egg wash or butter, but I didn't do that. I just left them as is. I put them into the oven at 400 and I let that go for 20 minutes. Then I gave it an extra 5 minutes and they were fairly brown, but I wanted that traditional look where they were sort of crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside. And so what the old nanas do is they actually bake it directly on the oven rack. I didn't want to do that because I was scared because it was for Christmas. So just for the last 2 to 3 minutes, I put them directly on the oven rack just so they would crisp up a little bit. And honestly, these were the best ciambellas I've ever made. I'd made them before, but they never turned out like this. I don't know what the secret was, to be honest, but if you follow these instructions exactly, you will have amazing ciambelle bread. So once they were cooled slightly, I just put them into a Tupperware with a clean towel so that they would be ready to be taken for Christmas dinner the next day. And just a tip, when you do warm them up the next day, in order for them to be crunchy and crispy, you would spray them with a little bit of water and then put them in the oven at 350 and leave them for about, 5 minutes. And honestly, they would just crisp up the same way again. Subscribe for more kid-friendly and mom-friendly recipes that fit real life. Enjoy!